I'm Rosanna, 35, a successful real estate consultant who thought I had it all. The luxury villa I bought as a surprise for our 10th anniversary became the backdrop for an unexpected confrontation. When my husband Jackson brought his lover there, he had no idea that her husband Marcus and I were already waiting. Let me know where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had that gut feeling something was wrong in your relationship. I met Jackson 12 years ago at a real estate auction in downtown Boston. I was just starting my career, nervous but determined to impress potential clients. Jackson walked in with confidence. His tailored suit and warm smile immediately caught my attention. He outbid everyone for a beautiful brownstone, then approached me for my card, saying he might need a real estate consultant for future investments. Our first date was at an upscale restaurant overlooking the harbor. Jackson was charming, attentive, and genuinely interested in my ambitions. 2 years of romantic dates, weekend getaways, and shared dreams led to our wedding at an exclusive coastal resort. The ceremony was everything I imagined, intimate yet elegant, with close friends and family celebrating our love. We built what I thought was a perfect life together. Jackson climbed the corporate ladder at his tech company, eventually becoming an executive director, while I became one of the top real estate consultants in the city, specializing in luxury properties. We purchased our dream home in an affluent suburb, traveled extensively, and discussed starting a family when the time was right. For nearly a decade, our marriage seemed blessed. We rarely argued, supported each other's careers, and maintained the spark with regular date nights and little surprises. Flowers at my office from him, notes in his briefcase from me. But about 8 months ago, subtle changes began creeping in. The first red flag was when Jackson missed our monthly dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, calling 40 minutes late, claiming an emergency meeting with clients from Japan. I believed him, of course. Soon, these emergency meetings became more frequent. Jackson started taking business trips at least twice a month, sometimes with less than 24 hours' notice. When I suggested joining him on a trip to San Francisco, a city I loved, he dismissed the idea, saying it would be all work and no play. The physical distance mirrored the growing emotional gap. Jackson began sleeping on his side of the bed without reaching for me. Our conversations became superficial, limited to household logistics and brief updates about our days. When I tried to initiate intimacy, he blamed exhaustion or work stress. The passionate man I married seemed to be fading, replaced by a distracted stranger more invested in his phone than in me. I refused to be a passive observer in my own marriage. I scheduled surprise lunches at his office only to be told he was out with clients. I planned weekend getaways, but he cut them short or brought work along. For our 9th anniversary, I arranged a private chef to recreate our wedding menu, yet Jackson arrived 3 hours late, apologizing profusely for a server crisis at work. The more I tried, the more frustrated I became. I confided in my best friend Alicia, a psychologist and former college roommate. "Have you directly asked him if something's wrong?" she suggested over coffee. Multiple times I did. He always claimed everything was fine, just stressed about work and expansion plans. Alicia's expression remained neutral, but concern flickered in her eyes. "Rosanna, I'm not trying to plant ideas, but these are classic signs someone's either deeply unhappy or hiding something." I didn't want to believe anything sinister, yet doubt had been planted. Still, I was determined to fight for my marriage. With our 10th anniversary approaching, I planned something truly special to remind Jackson of our love and commitment. For years, we'd talked about buying a vacation property, and he loved a coastal area 2 hours from the city, known for its pristine beaches and exclusive communities. Using my connections and expertise, I secretly searched for the perfect villa, private but accessible, luxurious but not ostentatious. After viewing nearly 20 properties, I found it. A bluffside villa overlooking the ocean with floor-to-ceiling windows, 4 bedrooms, a gourmet kitchen, an infinity pool, and a private path to a secluded beach. The previous owners had kept it immaculate. Even upgrading the smart home system recently, the price was high, even for us. But I had been saving a portion of my commissions for years in a separate account for a significant anniversary gift. I closed the deal 3 months before our anniversary, keeping it confidential, and arranged interior designers to add personal touches, travel photos, artwork we both admired, and custom furniture in the earth tones Jackson preferred. Every detail was meant to make the villa feel like our second home from the moment we stepped inside. As the anniversary approached, I couldn't contain my excitement. I even had custom keys made, attached to a silver keychain engraved with our initials and wedding date. I imagined us celebrating with champagne on the terrace, watching the sunset over the ocean, recommitting to our future together. The villa symbolized not just luxury, but my belief in our marriage and the decades ahead. Little did I know, this dream property, bought with so much hope and love, would soon become the scene of a very different story. 2 weeks before our anniversary, I was at my office reviewing contracts when my phone chimed with an Instagram notification. Someone named Tara Williams had sent me a direct message. Assuming it was a potential client who had found me through social media, I opened the message immediately. "Hello, Rosanna. You don't know me, but I'm Tara, Marcus Bennett's wife. We need to talk about your husband Jackson and my friend Natalia. Can we meet? It's important." My first instinct was that it was a mistake or a scam. I nearly deleted it, but something made me hesitate. The message was too specific, mentioning Jackson by name. With trembling fingers, I clicked on Tara's profile. She seemed around my age, attractive with dark hair, her feed filled with travel photos and professional headshots. She appeared legitimate, which only heightened my anxiety. After debating for nearly an hour, I replied, asking for more information. Her response was quick. "I think it's better we discuss this in person. Can you meet tomorrow at Riverside Cafe at 2 p.m.? I'll be wearing a red blazer." That night was one of the longest of my life. I barely slept, alternating between dismissing the message as nonsense and imagining worst-case scenarios. Jackson came home late, as usual, kissed my forehead absently, and fell asleep within minutes, completely unaware of my inner turmoil. The next day, I arrived at the cafe 20 minutes early, my stomach in knots. I recognized Tara the moment she walked in. Her red blazer bright against the muted decor of the cafe. She spotted me and approached with a confident stride that belied the uncomfortable conversation ahead. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, extending her hand. Up close, I noticed the strain around her eyes despite her professional makeup. "I know this is awkward. What exactly is this about?" I asked after we ordered coffee. Tara took a deep breath. "Natalia Lopez is married to my friend Marcus Bennett. Marcus is an architect who travels frequently for work. Natalia and I were close friends until recently." She paused, carefully considering her next words. 3 weeks ago, I saw something I couldn't ignore. I was supposed to meet Natalia for lunch, but she canceled last minute claiming she was sick. That same afternoon, I was picking up my son from piano lessons when I saw her entering the Madison Hotel downtown, with your husband. My heart seemed to stop. That could be innocent. "Jackson works with many people," I said, trying to rationalize it. Tara continued, pulling out her phone. "But it wasn't the first time. After seeing them, I started paying attention. Natalia has been acting differently for months. New clothes, secretive phone calls, unexplained absences." She hesitated before showing me her screen. 2 weeks ago, I followed them. I know how this sounds, but Marcus is like family to me, and I had to know. The photos showed Jackson and a stunning brunette entering the same hotel on different days. In one, his hand rested intimately on the small of her back. In another, they were kissing in what appeared to be a hotel lobby, partially concealed behind a large potted plant, but still recognizable. The world around me blurred. The cafe noise faded to a distant hum as I stared at the evidence of my husband's betrayal. 10 years of marriage, trust, and building a life together, all undermined by these images. "There's more," Tara said, gently sliding a folded paper across the table. It was a credit card statement. Marcus had found charges on their joint account: expensive restaurants, jewelry stores, weekend getaways, all on days Natalia claimed to be visiting her sister in Connecticut. I recognized some dates immediately. The weekend Jackson claimed to be at a tech conference in Chicago, the night of our missed anniversary dinner, birthdays, holidays. My hands shook as I handed the paper back to Tara. Why are you showing me this? Why not just tell Marcus? My voice sounded strange to my own ears, detached and hollow. Marcus is in denial. He and Natalia have been together since college. He doesn't want to believe she would do this. And honestly, I thought you deserved to know. If it were me, I'd want someone to tell me. I excused myself to the restroom, barely making it into the stall before the tears came. Memories flashed through my mind. Jackson's late nights, decreased intimacy, his guardedness about his phone. All the signs had been there, but I had refused to see them, making excuses and focusing on saving something that perhaps wasn't worth saving. When I returned, my decision was made. I need to know everything, and we need proof that's impossible to deny, for both our sakes. Over the next week, Tara and I became unlikely allies. We hired David McKinnon, a private investigator recommended by a colleague who had faced a similar situation. David was discreet, thorough, and efficient. Within days, he provided surveillance photos of Jackson and Natalia meeting at various locations, restaurants far from our usual haunts, the Madison Hotel, which seemed to be their regular rendezvous spot, and even a jewelry store where Jackson purchased a bracelet that never made it to my wrist. The most damning evidence came from their text messages, which David somehow obtained. Reading their exchanges was like salt in my wounds. Jackson complained to Natalia about me, claiming I was too focused on my career, too predictable. He called Natalia his escape, the excitement in his life. They had been seeing each other for nearly 9 months, longer than I had even noticed the changes in our marriage. With sufficient evidence gathered, Tara finally convinced Marcus to meet us. We arranged to meet at my office after hours for privacy. Marcus Bennett arrived looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. "This better be important," he said tersely, refusing to sit. "I have a project deadline tomorrow." Tara guided him to a chair. "Marcus, please, let's look at what we found." As we presented the evidence, Marcus went through the same stages of denial and shock that I had experienced. He insisted there must be a mistake, that the photos were misleading, the texts could be fabricated. But as the mountain of evidence grew impossible to ignore, his defenses began to crumble. I watched his expression shifting from anger to devastation as the truth sank in. He whispered, staring at a photo of his wife entering the hotel with my husband. "We've been married 9 years. We were talking about having a baby." His voice broke on the last word. In that moment, I felt a strange connection with this man I had just met. We were both victims of the same betrayal, both struggling to reconcile the people we loved with the evidence of their deception. Without thinking, I reached out and placed my hand over his. "I know," I said softly. "I understand exactly how you feel." After the initial shock wore off, the three of us began discussing our options. We met regularly at a quiet bar far from our neighborhoods, careful to avoid recognition. We could confront them separately, I suggested during one meeting. "I'll talk to Jackson. Marcus can talk to Natalia." Marcus shook his head, spinning his wedding ring. "Absolutely not. They'll just deny it and make us seem paranoid. Natalia is convincing when she wants to be." "What if we catch them together?" Tara proposed, leaning forward. "If we get evidence of them in the act, they can't deny it." The idea hung in the air. It would be painful, humiliating even, but there would be a finality to it. No denials, no gaslighting, just the raw, undeniable truth. I couldn't bear to see them together. Marcus admitted, his voice strained. "Just the thought makes me sick." I understood his hesitation. The mental images were already torturous. Witnessing it firsthand would be unbearable. But as I considered our options, a realization struck me. "The villa," I said suddenly. "What villa?" Tara asked. I explained about the anniversary gift, the luxurious coastal property I'd purchased for Jackson and me. I had kept it secret, but forwarded the closing documents to my personal email, which Jackson had access to. What if he's seen them and knows about the place? A quick check confirmed my suspicion. The message containing the villa's address and security code had been marked as read, though I hadn't opened it on my devices. David, our investigator, monitored Jackson over the next few days. His report confirmed our suspicions. Jackson had called Natalia immediately after accessing my email, and they discussed visiting a special place on the weekend of my anniversary. "They're planning to use my anniversary gift for their affair," I said, my voice trembling with rage at our next meeting. "The villa I bought with my savings, poured my heart into decorating. They're going to defile it." Tara's expression hardened. "Then that's where we'll confront them." Marcus, who had been quiet most of the evening, finally spoke. "I'm in. If they're going to disrespect you like that, Rosanna, using something so meaningful, I want to be there when they realize what they've done." We spent the next week meticulously planning. I contacted the villa's security company and arranged for additional cameras, ensuring every room was covered. I had duplicate keys made for Marcus and Tara. We coordinated our schedules, prepared what we would say, and even rehearsed scenarios. Jackson made our plan easier when he announced he would be working late on our anniversary, promising to make it up the following weekend. "I'll act disappointed but understanding," I told him. "I have a spa day planned with Alicia anyway." The lie felt bitter on my tongue, but Jackson accepted it without question, almost relieved I wasn't making a fuss. As the day approached, my emotions fluctuated wildly. Some moments I was consumed by rage, imagining the satisfaction of exposing their betrayal. Other times, grief overwhelmed me, mourning the marriage I thought I had. Late at night, doubt crept in. Was I making a terrible mistake? Would confronting them this way only cause more pain? Tara became my unexpected source of strength. Though we met under horrible circumstances, I grew increasingly grateful for her friendship. She understood what I was going through in a way even Alicia couldn't. Marcus struggled more visibly with our plan. What if Natalia brings up our problems? He confessed during our final planning session. "We've been distant since I started taking international projects. Maybe this is partially my fault." "Stop," Tara said firmly. "Distance in a marriage is normal sometimes. It doesn't justify cheating. They made choices repeatedly, knowing they were hurting us. Don't take that responsibility from them." The night before our anniversary, I barely slept. Jackson came home late, sliding into bed carefully to avoid waking me. I pretended to be asleep, heart pounding as he settled beside me. How many nights had he come home smelling of her perfume? How many lies had I willingly believed? In the morning, I kissed Jackson goodbye as he left for work, wishing him a productive day with a smile that felt like it might shatter my face. As soon as his car disappeared down the street, I called Tara and Marcus. "It's time," I said, feeling strangely calm. "Let's go." We drove separately to the villa, arriving mid-morning. The day was beautiful, sunny with a gentle ocean breeze, perfect for a romantic getaway. The cruel irony wasn't lost on me as I unlocked the door and welcomed Tara and Marcus into what should have been my anniversary surprise. "This place is stunning," Tara whispered, taking in the panoramic ocean view from the living room windows. Marcus nodded appreciatively, his architect's eye noting the details. "You have excellent taste, Rosanna. This is—" He trailed off, perhaps realizing that complimenting my anniversary gift to my unfaithful husband wasn't appropriate. We spent the next few hours preparing. I connected my laptop to the security cameras to monitor their arrival. We moved our cars to a neighbor's property whose owners I had befriended during the purchase. We reviewed one final time where we would wait and when to make our appearance. As the hours passed, tension built in my chest until I felt I might suffocate. Tara kept checking her phone, confirming that Natalia had told Marcus she was having a girls' weekend with her cousin. Marcus paced the terrace, alternating between righteous anger and profound sadness. When the security alert finally pinged, indicating a car approaching the property, we all froze. On my laptop screen, I watched Jackson's luxury sedan pull into the driveway. He stepped out, circled to the passenger side, and opened the door for Natalia. She emerged like a movie star, tossing her dark hair and smiling brilliantly at my husband. He leaned in to kiss her, and I quickly looked away, my stomach churning. "They're here," I said unnecessarily. "Everyone ready?" Tara squeezed my hand. Marcus took a deep breath and nodded. We moved to our positions in the master bedroom, leaving the door slightly ajar, and waited. The sound of the front door opening echoed through the villa. Jackson's voice drifted upstairs, confident and relaxed in a way I hadn't heard in months. "Welcome to our weekend getaway," he said. Through the security feed on my laptop, I could see him gesturing grandly around the foyer. "What do you think?" Natalia stepped inside, eyes widening as she took in the soaring ceilings and ocean view. She was even more beautiful in person than in the photos. Tall, elegant, perfect makeup, designer clothes. I felt a momentary pang of inadequacy before reminding myself that I wasn't the one betraying my vows. "Jack, this is incredible," she exclaimed, running her hand along the marble countertop in the kitchen. "How did you find this place? And how can you afford it?" Jackson laughed, setting down their bags. "I have my resources. It's part of a new luxury development. The company is considering investing, so I arranged a preview weekend." The casual lie made my blood boil. He was taking credit for my hard work, my savings, my thoughtful gift. "Come see the view from upstairs," Jackson suggested, taking Natalia's hand. The master bedroom has a private terrace overlooking the ocean. Tara glanced at me, eyebrows raised. This was happening faster than we'd anticipated. Marcus's face had gone pale, his jaw clenched tight. I closed my laptop and nodded. It was time. We could hear them ascending the stairs, Natalia's heels clicking on the marble steps, Jackson describing the property as if he were the real estate agent. They entered the master suite, and I heard Natalia gasp at the panoramic windows revealing the coastline. "Jack, this is the most romantic place I've ever seen," she murmured. "We should come here every anniversary." That was my breaking point. I pushed the door open fully, stepping into the bedroom with Tara and Marcus behind me. "Hello, Jackson," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Surprise." The color drained from Jackson's face so quickly I thought he might faint. Natalia let out a small scream, instinctively backing away. "Rosanna," Jackson stammered. "What are you... How did you... This isn't what it looks like." I finished for him. "Because it looks like you brought your mistress to the villa I bought as our anniversary present." Natalia's confused gaze darted between Jackson and me. "Anniversary present?" she asked. "Jack, what is she talking about? You said this was a company property." "He lied," I said coldly. "Jackson lies a lot, apparently. I purchased this villa 3 months ago as a surprise for our 10th wedding anniversary, which is today, by the way." Marcus stepped forward. Then his eyes locked on Natalia. "Hello, Nat." If Jackson looked shocked, Natalia looked absolutely terrified. "Marcus, what are you doing here?" "How do you know these people?" "We've become quite well acquainted," Marcus replied, his calm tone belying the pain in his eyes. Shared trauma tends to bring people together. "This is insane," Jackson said, seeming to recover some composure. "Rosanna, you're making a scene over nothing. Natalia is a client. I was showing her potential investment properties." I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Stop lying, Jackson. We know everything. The hotel meetings, the gifts, the trips, 9 months of lies and betrayal." Tara moved to stand beside me. "We have photos, text messages, credit card statements. There's no point denying it anymore." Natalia burst into tears, her perfect makeup beginning to streak. "Marcus, please. This isn't what you think." "Jack told me you were having an affair," she sobbed. "He said you were cheating with your project manager in Dubai." Marcus looked stunned. "What?" "I've never been unfaithful to you, not once in 9 years." Jackson shot Natalia a warning look. "Don't listen to them. They're clearly unstable, following us around, spying on us. This is harassment." I walked to the bedside table and picked up the silver picture frame containing our wedding photo. which I had placed there hoping for a romantic moment of reminiscence. Harassment, I repeated. Is that what you call it when a wife expects fidelity from her husband after investing her savings in a surprise gift for a milestone anniversary? I turned to Natalia. Did you know he missed our anniversary dinner last year to be with you? Did you know we were talking about starting a family before he met you? Natalia's sobs intensified. Jackson moved toward me, hand outstretched. Rosanna, baby, let's talk about this privately. There's an explanation for everything. Don't touch me, I hissed, stepping back. And don't call me baby. You lost that right when you decided our marriage vows were optional. Marcus approached Natalia, maintaining careful distance. 9 months, Natalia. While I was working 60-hour weeks to build our future, to save for the family you said you wanted. I do want a family, Natalia cried. But you're never home. You're always traveling, always putting your career first. Jack made me feel special, wanted. And what about Rosanna? Marcus asked quietly. Did either of you think about her while building your little fantasy world? Jackson's demeanor suddenly changed, his apologetic expression hardening into something uglier. Rosanna hasn't really been present in our marriage for years. Always focused on her clients, her commissions, coming home late, bringing work to bed. That's rich coming from you, I retorted. You've been working late 3 nights a week for months, except now we know exactly what kind of work you've been doing. The confrontation escalated, accusations flying from all sides. Jackson attempted to minimize the affair, claiming it was just physical and didn't mean anything. Natalia vacillated between tearful apologies to Marcus and angry accusations about his emotional unavailability. Through it all, I maintained a strange, detached calm, as if watching the implosion of my marriage unfold in real time, from a distance. Finally, after nearly an hour of painful revelations, including discovering that Jackson had used our joint account to buy Natalia a bracelet for her birthday, I had enough. Get out, I said quietly, interrupting their latest round of excuses. Both of you, get out of my villa. Our villa, Jackson corrected automatically. I'm still your husband. This is marital property, I smiled thinly. Actually, I purchased it with my personal savings, which are not marital assets according to our prenuptial agreement. The deed is in my name only. So again, get out of my villa. Jackson looked stunned, then angry. This isn't over, Rosanna. Yes, I replied. It is. Marcus nodded in agreement. Natalia, I'll have your things packed and sent to your sisters. Don't come home tonight, or any night for that matter. The finality in our voices seemed to pierce their defenses. Without another word, Jackson grabbed his bag and stalked out. Natalia lingered a moment longer, looking pleadingly at Marcus, but when he turned away, she followed Jackson downstairs and out the door. When we heard their car drive away, the 3 of us collapsed onto the edge of the bed, emotionally drained. Tara was the first to break the silence. Well, she said, that went about as well as could be expected. Marcus let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Is it strange that I still want to go after her, to try to fix this somehow? I understood exactly how he felt. Despite everything, a part of me already missed Jackson, the man I thought he was, the life I thought we had. It's not strange, I said softly. It's just love, even when it's broken. We spent the rest of the day at the villa, the 3 of us united by circumstance, talking through our pain, occasionally crying, sometimes even laughing at the absurdity of our situation. As the sun set over the ocean, we opened a bottle of champagne I had purchased for my anniversary celebration and raised a toast. To new beginnings, Tara suggested. And to the truth, I added, no matter how painful. The days following our confrontation were some of the hardest of my life. Jackson bombarded me with calls and texts, alternating between apologetic pleas for forgiveness and angry accusations. You humiliated me, he wrote. You set me up. We could have discussed this like adults. I forwarded his messages to my lawyer without responding. I had already moved out of our home, taking only my personal belongings and staying temporarily with Alicia. She had been horrified but supportive when I told her everything, offering her guest room without hesitation. "You've been through a trauma," she reminded me, her psychologist training evident in her careful approach. "Give yourself permission to feel everything: anger, grief, relief, whatever comes up." What came up most frequently was a profound sense of loss, not just of Jackson, but of the future I had imagined, the life I had believed in. I found myself crying at unexpected moments. In the grocery store when I saw his favorite cereal, in my car when our song played on the radio, at night when the emptiness beside me felt endless. Natalia was equally persistent with Marcus, according to our regular check-in calls. She showed up at his office with tears and promises, sent daily letters explaining her side of the story, and even enlisted her family to call him on her behalf. She's saying I drove her to it. Marcus told me during one of our coffee meetings that I was emotionally unavailable, that I prioritized work over her needs. He looked haggard, clearly not sleeping well. The worst part is there might be some truth to that. "Stop," I told him firmly. "Even if you weren't perfect, and who is, she had options. She could have talked to you, suggested counseling, even asked for a separation. She chose deception instead. That's on her, not you." 2 weeks after our anniversary, Jackson finally requested a face-to-face meeting. My lawyer advised against it, but I needed closure. We agreed to meet at a restaurant downtown, a public place where we had never dined together. He arrived looking uncharacteristically disheveled, his usually impeccable appearance showing signs of strain. For a brief moment, I felt a pang of sympathy, quickly squashed by the memory of him with Natalia. "Thank you for coming," he began, voice subdued. "I know you didn't have to. What do you want, Jackson?" I asked, not touching the water the server had poured. "I made a terrible mistake," he said, eyes welling with tears. "The biggest mistake of my life. I got caught up in something that didn't mean anything. It was just an escape, a distraction from the pressure at work, from the routine we'd fallen into." 9 months is a long distraction, I pointed out. "And from what I saw in your text messages, it seemed to mean quite a lot to you." He winced. "I said things I didn't mean. You know how it is when you're in that initial phase. Everything is exciting and new." He reached for my hand, which I quickly withdrew. "What we have is real, Rosanna. 10 years of building a life together. Are you really going to throw that away over one indiscretion?" His characterization made me laugh despite myself. "One indiscretion? You had a full-blown relationship with another woman for 3/4 of a year. You missed holidays with my family to be with her. You used our money to buy her gifts. You took her to hotels where staff knew you by name. And you were planning to take her to the villa I bought for our anniversary." I shook my head. "That's not an indiscretion, Jackson. That's a double life." "I'll do anything to fix this," he pleaded. "Therapy, counseling, complete transparency. I'll change jobs if that helps. I'll give you access to all my accounts, my phone, everything." Looking at him across the table, this man I had loved, trusted, and built dreams with, I realized I felt nothing. No anger, no love, not even hatred. Just a profound emptiness where my feelings for him had once lived. "It's too late," I said quietly. "I've contacted a divorce attorney. You'll be receiving papers next week." His facade cracked, tears falling freely. "Please don't do this. I love you, Rosanna. She meant nothing to me." "That's actually worse," I replied, standing to leave. "If she meant nothing, then you threw away our marriage for nothing. If she meant something, then everything else you said was a lie, too." I walked out of the restaurant with my head held high, ignoring Jackson's calls chasing after me. Once in my car, I finally let myself cry. Not for the man I was leaving, but for the woman I had been, who had loved so trustingly and completely. The next day, I formally retained Patricia Winters, one of the city's top divorce attorneys. When I laid out the situation, including all the detailed evidence we had gathered, she exuded confidence. "The prenuptial agreement is in your favor," she explained. "Massachusetts is an equitable distribution state. not a community property state. And the proof of his infidelity, plus his financial misconduct, using joint funds for his affair, puts you in a very strong position. I wasn't interested in taking Jackson to the cleaners, despite what my anger occasionally suggested. I simply wanted a fair division of assets, and, most importantly, to keep the villa that had become a symbol of both the end of my marriage and the beginning of my new life. During this time, my friendship with Marcus and Tara deepened. We formed an unlikely support group, meeting weekly to share updates and offer encouragement. Marcus had filed for divorce as well, his initial uncertainty hardening into resolve when Natalia's continued lies came to light. "She's telling everyone I was abusive," he admitted one evening, his voice tight with controlled anger. "She was afraid to leave me, so she sought comfort with Jackson." When my own mother called to ask if it was true, Tara shook her head. Classic Darvo: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. Don't let it get to you. Easy to say, harder to live through, Marcus replied, managing a small smile. At least I have you two who know the truth. Navigating the social fallout of our divorces proved almost as challenging as the legal proceedings. Mutual friends took sides, colleagues whispered, and social media became a minefield. Jackson positioned himself as a repentant husband, punished disproportionately by an unforgiving wife. Natalia cast herself as a misunderstood woman trapped in a loveless marriage who had finally found a true connection. I lost friends I thought would stand by me and endured judgmental comments from Jackson's family, including his mother, who called to lecture me on forgiveness and warn that I was throwing away years of happiness over a single mistake. The isolation might have broken me, if not for the unwavering support of Alicia, my parents, and the new friends born from shared trauma. Through it all, I focused on rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I threw myself into work, taking on high-profile clients and closing difficult deals. I started therapy to process grief and anger. I renovated my condo, replacing furniture that reminded me of Jackson, creating a space entirely my own. And whenever possible, I escaped to the villa by the sea, sometimes alone, sometimes with Tara or Alicia, occasionally with both Marcus and Tara. Gradually, the property shed its association with betrayal and became my sanctuary, a place to heal and envision a future unshackled from Jackson. 6 months after discovering the affair, my life had taken on a new shape. The divorce proceedings were moving forward, though Jackson contested the villa's classification as my separate property, claiming he had contributed intellectually to its selection and improvement. It's a delay tactic, Patricia assured me. The documentation is clear. The funds came from your separate account. The deed is in your name only. And he didn't even know about it until he snooped through your email. I had moved permanently into my condo, creating a peaceful haven that reflected my personal taste without compromise. My business was thriving. Ironically, the publicity surrounding my divorce attracted wealthy clients seeking an agent who understood discretion and high-value property. The most surprising development, however, was my evolving relationship with Marcus. What had begun as a connection forged through shared pain gradually transformed into something deeper. We understood each other's wounds, respected each other's healing process, and found comfort in the company of someone who truly comprehended the betrayal we had experienced. Our first official date had been unplanned. We were meeting to sign final paperwork related to our investigation costs when a summer thunderstorm trapped us at the restaurant. 2 hours of conversation later, I realized I had laughed more that evening than in the previous 6 months combined. Is this weird? Marcus had asked as he walked me to my car. Us spending time together like this. I considered the question seriously. Maybe to other people, but I don't really care what other people think anymore. He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. Neither do I. We began dating cautiously, hyper-aware of our emotional vulnerabilities. We established clear boundaries and communication protocols that our respective therapists would have applauded. We approached physical intimacy slowly, each step accompanied by explicit consent and frequent check-ins. Tara was supportive but concerned. "I'm happy for you both," she said during one of our girls' nights at the villa. "But are you sure you're not just bonding over shared trauma?" "That's how we met," I acknowledged. "But that's not what keeps us together." Marcus is kind, thoughtful, creative, all the things I never realized were missing with Jackson. Meanwhile, our divorced spouses continued their relationship, though according to mutual friends it lacked the illicit excitement that had fueled their affair. Jackson was demoted at work after a client discovered his involvement in the scandal and withdrew a major account. Natalia struggled financially without Marcus's support. I received occasional updates from mutual connections, but found myself increasingly indifferent to their lives. My focus had shifted entirely to building my new future, one not defined by Jackson's betrayal. A major step in that process was renovating the villa. I completely transformed the master bedroom, replacing furniture, repainting walls, and even reconfiguring the layout. I added a home office overlooking the ocean, a yoga studio in what had been a guest room, and commissioned local artists to create original works reflecting themes of renewal and strength. The property that had once been intended as an anniversary gift had become a symbol of my independence. I hosted small gatherings there for close friends, celebrating the life I had reclaimed. I used the villa to host weekend retreats for women navigating divorce or major life transitions, and I spent peaceful, solitary days walking along the beach, rediscovering myself. "You've turned this place into something beautiful," Marcus observed during a weekend visit as we sat on the terrace watching the sunset. "Not just the physical changes, but the energy here. It needed to be reclaimed," I explained. "Making it truly mine helped me let go of what happened here." He nodded, understanding perfectly. That was one of the things I appreciated most about Marcus. I never had to explain my feelings about the betrayal. He just knew. About a year after our confrontation at the villa, I had a chance encounter with Jackson and Natalia at an upscale downtown restaurant. I was dining with Marcus to celebrate closing a major property deal when they walked in, seated across the room. I noticed them first. Jackson looked somehow older, his usual confidence diminished. Natalia was still beautiful but visibly tense, constantly checking her phone instead of engaging with him. When Jackson finally spotted us, his expression froze. He leaned over to whisper something to Natalia, and she immediately looked away, her discomfort obvious even from a distance. "Do you want to leave?" Marcus asked quietly, noticing my distraction. I considered it briefly and shook my head. "No. I'm enjoying my dinner and my company. They don't get to disrupt that anymore." We continued our evening, though I remained aware of their presence. Toward the end of our meal, Jackson approached our table alone, hovering awkwardly. "Rosanna," he said stiffly. "You look well." "Thank you," I replied simply. He glanced at Marcus, a flash of jealousy, or maybe regret, crossing his features. "I see you two are together now." Marcus placed his hand over mine on the table, a gesture of support rather than possession. "We are." Jackson nodded, unsure what to say next. "The divorce paperwork came through yesterday. It's official now." "Yes, I know," I responded. My lawyer had informed me. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. "I made a terrible mistake, Rosanna. I realize that now. What I threw away, what we had." He trailed off, perhaps recognizing the futility in his words. I felt no satisfaction in his apparent regret, no vindication in his discomfort. Instead, a surprising wave of compassion washed over me, not for him, specifically, but for all of us who make devastating choices and must live with the consequences. "I hope you find happiness." "Jackson," I said sincerely. "I've found mine." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded and returned to his table. Marcus squeezed my hand. "That was gracious," he observed. I shrugged slightly. Holding on to anger would only give him continued power over my emotions. I was done with that. As we left the restaurant, I noticed Natalia watching us, her expression unreadable. I nodded slightly in acknowledgement, then walked out with Marcus, leaving the past firmly behind me. 1 year after discovering Jackson's betrayal, my life had transformed completely. The divorce was finalized, with me retaining full ownership of the villa, despite Jackson's attempts to claim a share. My real estate business had expanded, with a small team specializing in luxury coastal properties. And my relationship with Marcus had deepened into something I never believed possible after the pain we had endured. The journey had not been linear or easy. There were days when grief ambushed me, when memories of life with Jackson brought unexpected tears. Doubts about trusting again and opening myself to potential hurt surfaced often. Difficult conversations with well-meaning friends and family arose, questioning whether I was moving too quickly with Marcus or making decisions from trauma rather than healing. Through it all, I learned to trust myself above all else, honoring my feelings without letting them dictate my actions, setting boundaries, and maintaining them firmly. The villa became more than a property. It became the physical manifestation of my transformation. What began as an anniversary gift intended to strengthen a marriage built on lies became instead a symbol of resilience and independence. I spent weekends there frequently, sometimes with Marcus, sometimes alone, finding peace in the sound of the waves and the vast horizon. The villa also became the site of my renewal weekends, retreats for women navigating divorce or life transitions. Inspired by my own experience, I realized how healing it had been to have a beautiful space away from daily pressures, where I could process emotions and envision a new future. These weekends quickly booked months in advance, with women traveling from across the country. I brought in therapists, financial advisors, career coaches, and other professionals to provide guidance, while also leaving ample time for reflection, connection, and rest. During one such retreat, as I watched a group of women walking along the beach at sunset, Tara joined me on the terrace. "You've created something incredible here," she said, gesturing toward the scene below. "Who would have thought something so positive could come from such a painful experience?" I smiled, thinking about the strange path that had led me here. I certainly wouldn't have predicted this outcome when we were planning our confrontation at the villa. Speaking of unexpected outcomes, Tara continued with a knowing smile, "Marcus called me yesterday. He wanted my opinion on something." My heart skipped a beat. "Oh, a ring," she confirmed. "He's planning to propose this weekend." Though Marcus and I had discussed marriage in general terms, knowing he was actually planning to propose sent a wave of emotion through me, joy tinged with a faint trace of fear. Tara must have noticed my complex reaction. "It's okay to be scared," she said gently. "After what you've been through, it would be strange if you weren't a little apprehensive." "I love him," I said simply. More than I thought possible after Jackson, though sometimes I still wondered if I could truly trust my judgment again. "From what I've seen," Tara replied, "your judgment is excellent. You rebuilt your life on your terms. You created something meaningful from your pain. You've approached your relationship with Marcus with honesty and care." She squeezed my hand. "Trust yourself, Rosanna. You've earned that," Tara had said. That night, after the retreat participants had retired to their rooms, I walked alone along the beach, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The betrayal that had once felt world-ending a year ago had instead become world-changing, forcing me to reassess everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and my own strength. When I discovered Jackson's affair, I had believed I had lost everything that mattered: my marriage, my future, my faith, my ability to love, all shattered in an instant. The pain was all-consuming, the humiliation deep, the fear overwhelming. But standing there under the vast canopy of stars, I realized the truth. What I had truly lost were illusions: the illusion of a faithful husband, the illusion of a perfect marriage, the illusion that happiness depended on someone else's loyalty. What I had gained was far more valuable: authentic self-knowledge, genuine friendships forged in fire, and the unshakable certainty that I could survive the unimaginable. Marcus proposed that weekend, just as Tara had predicted, during a private dinner on the villa's terrace. The ring was unlike the flashy diamond Jackson had given me. Instead, it featured a sea glass center stone collected from the beach below, surrounded by small diamonds in a setting that resembled waves. "It's imperfect but beautiful," Marcus explained as he slid it onto my finger, shaped by difficulty into something unique. Like us. I said yes without hesitation, knowing this commitment was different, not built on youthful idealism or social expectations, but on a deep understanding of both the fragility and resilience of love. We decided on a long engagement, giving ourselves time to continue healing individually while building our relationship. We set clear agreements about honesty, transparency, and communication, reflecting the hard lessons learned from our previous marriages. Jackson eventually moved to another state with Natalia. According to mutual friends, their relationship remained tumultuous. I found I could wish them well without attachment. Their choices no longer had the power to affect my happiness. The path that led me from betrayal to renewal wasn't one I would have chosen. But standing on the other side, I wouldn't change a thing. The villa, meant to celebrate a decade of marriage, became the foundation for a new beginning, one built on truth rather than illusions, on strength discovered through pain, and on love that acknowledges human frailty while aspiring to something better. If you're going through something similar, betrayal, heartbreak, the collapse of everything you believed in, please know that what feels like an ending may actually be a beginning. The hardest moments of our lives often contain the seeds of our greatest transformation. Trust yourself, surround yourself with honest friends, and remember that while healing isn't linear, it is possible. I'd love to hear your stories of resilience and renewal in the comments below. Have you ever had to rebuild after betrayal? What helped you find your strength again? Please like and subscribe if my story resonated with you, and share it with anyone who might need to hear that life, beautiful, authentic, joyful life, can exist after betrayal. Thank you for listening to my journey.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.